Hello, good evening, and welcome to the first ever Mary's Meals Family Hour Live. My name is Daniel Adams. I'm the Executive Director of Mary's Meals here in the UK, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is a first for us. We're trying out a new way to stay in touch with you, the people who support our work so generously during these very strange times we're all living through with the COVID-19 pandemic. And because this is a first for us, I just want to appeal for a wee bit of patience if we run into any technological gremlins as we go through our hour tonight. My lovely colleague Alison is looking after the technical aspects. And if anything goes wrong, hopefully we'll get back up and running before too long. So please do stick with us. So why did we decide to call this the Mary's Meals Family Hour? Well, that's really just to recognise that Mary's Meals is a family of people from all over the world, from all walks of life, from every age group, from many different creeds, who simply won't accept that any child should go hungry in this world of plenty. So as a family tonight, and we gather together via this kind of new means, using technology in the way that we're doing, hopefully we'll be able to be uplifted by all that we are achieving together through Mary's Meals, and also perhaps tonight to reflect a little bit on the challenges that are ahead of us as well. And since we're a family, I want to just start with something I'm sure we're all inquiring of our friends and our family members at this time right now. And that's that I hope you and your loved ones are all very well, that you're all very healthy. I'm aware of some people involved in Mary's Meals, volunteers, staff, supporters, whose families' lives have been touched directly by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm aware particularly of one supporter of ours who has supported us for many years, who passed away, unfortunately, recently because of this terrible virus. And in one of their last acts, they decided that for the funeral, small though it was, they would seek to try and raise some money to feed more children through Mary's Meals. So thank you so much to that person. We pray for them and their family. We pray for anybody who's affected by this virus at this time. And as I say, I hope you're all well and your families are all well too. When we sent out the invitation to our family hour tonight, I think we said in the email subject line, put the kettle on. So I hope maybe you all have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee to enjoy. There was one particular response from supporters of ours in Bedfordshire, Keith and Kate, who replied to us to say, put the kettle on, we might do that, but is it okay if we maybe pour a glass of something stronger to enjoy the family hour with too? That's absolutely fine. Whatever you're drinking, do make yourselves comfortable. I've got my water here. It's definitely not gin, I promise. I'm comfortable here, but it's also a little bit odd for me because I'm here in our Glasgow office, the Mary's Meals UK Glasgow office. And it's strange because this is normally a place which is bustling with intense activity. It's strange to be here without my colleagues and without our hardworking volunteers, because our offices, much like so many places of work, have been closed over the last period, and we've all been working at home. And as I said, normally people are working really hard here to bring the realization of Mary's Meals vision that every child receives one daily meal in their place of education ever closer. So even though I'm here on my own, I just want to reassure you that it's not just me speaking at you for the next hour. We're going to be joined by some different members of the Mary's Meals family throughout the hour. And I'll tell you a little bit in a second about who they are and what they're going to talk to us about. Before I do that, though, I just want to very succinctly, hopefully, describe what Mary's Meals does, because I'm mindful of the fact that maybe somebody is tuning in who is new to Mary's Meals. So just to do that very briefly, Mary's Meals reaches out to some of the world's most vulnerable children, providing them with one good, nutritious meal every day in their place of education. And when we provide that meal, we meet the child's immediate needs for nourishment by filling their empty tummies, but we also attract them into the classroom where they can receive an all-important education. And we firmly believe that the children who are receiving Mary's Meals today can grow up better nourished and better educated to become the men and women who will lift their communities out of poverty and end their reliance on aid. So that's what we do at Mary's Meals. For those who aren't new to us, who are long-term supporters of Mary's Meals, let me just say right at the beginning, to put your minds at rest, that in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, almost miraculously in a way, we've managed to adapt our programs to continue feeding children. And in a few moments, I'll be joined by my colleague Gillian, who'll tell us a little bit more about those adaptations. And it probably goes without saying, but our ability to continue feeding children both now and really at any point depends on the support of people around the world and here in the UK who share our determination that all children, and especially with Mary's Meals, the world's poorest and most vulnerable children, are able to eat one good meal every day and to be educated. And we've really been blown away by the continued outpouring of generosity and love. It's no different really to the 2 decades of history with Mary's Meals, with people being extremely generous. But just at this time here in the UK and in different countries around the world, as people face their own health challenges, financial hardships, increased unemployment at this time, still so many of you are remembering in your prayers and through continued donations, the little ones to which Mary's Meals is determined to keep our promise. And my colleague Catherine will join us a little bit later to tell us about some of the amazing things our supporters are doing to stay creative and innovative during this strange moment we're all living through. And, fair to say that Mary's Meals is not unaffected by the challenges of COVID-19, including the financial challenges, so not just programmatically, but with the incredible generosity of our supporters, coupled with God's unfailing providence, we're really confident that this work of ours cannot and will not stop. That's the tagline we've been using for our COVID-19 response appeal. Our work won't stop. Thank you for helping us to make sure that it doesn't. So what's coming up tonight in the hour? I mentioned that we'll be hearing from my colleague Gillian soon about our COVID-19 response. We'll be joined by my colleague Catherine to talk to us a little bit about some amazing supporter stories. We're then going to also hear at one point directly from another colleague of mine, Amina Swady, who leads our work in Kenya. And we'll then build up at the end of our family hour to a sneak preview of the new trailer for the new documentary film about the work of Mary's Meals. And that's a film that stars and focuses quite significantly on the Hollywood star, Gerard Butler, or for supporters here in the west of Scotland, I maybe just call him Paisley's Gerard Butler. Not sure what's better, Hollywood or Paisley. But that's what we'll build up to at the end. So please stay with us if you want to see a sneak preview of that trailer. We'll also let you know about when the film itself is going to come out and how you can see that. And that's very soon, actually. Also, tonight, I'm going to try and answer some questions from you, those who are watching. We've had a few in advance by email, and you can use the YouTube live chat if you would like to ask any questions during this, and they'll be passed along to me as we go on. And we might not be able to get to every question, but if we don't, we'll try to come back to you after the event tonight to try and make sure everybody gets an answer to the questions that they are wondering about. So the first question I just want to deal with, which came in advance, is from a wonderful supporter of ours called Violet. And Violet asked us, can you tell me which countries Mary's Meals is looking at for new feeding programs, please? So that's always a really kind of well-asked question of us. People are desperate to know when we'll be able to reach out to more children in more countries. So just to say, Violet, that the most recent additions to the Mary's Meals programmatic countries has been that in 2018, we expanded into Zimbabwe for the first time, and we've now been able to build that program up so that 20,000 children are receiving daily meals there. And then last year in 2019, we entered Madagascar for the first time, and we were able to build up to now feeding close to 10,000 children there. And really recently, just over a month ago at the end of April, we announced our 19th program country, which is Niger. And Niger is the country which ranks lowest on the Human Development Index, which is one measure of development and poverty within nations. And Niger is bottom of that list. So a great example of where Mary's Meals is reaching out to the world's most vulnerable children. So when we're looking at new expanding our programs, there are a couple of things that we need to always balance with Mary's Meals. One of them is the balance between expanding to reach new children in existing countries where we're already set up, and actual new countries that are being added in. And so we always want to try and make sure we're expanding in existing countries, because we've definitely not saturated the need in those either. And then when we're looking at new programs countries, we're looking at some specific indicators that we need to see for a Mary's Meals program, especially maybe levels of malnutrition and the numbers of children who are out of school, among other indicators that our programs team would be looking for. And it's fair to say that in order to keep our promise of a daily meal to the 1.6 million children who now rely on Mary's Meals every day, it's quite a tall order to keep that promise, to have the level of funding that's required just to sustain the meals for the children who are already enrolled. And so as we're growing, that challenge just gets bigger. So that's always our first priority, to keep the promise. But we're as desperate as you are to be able to reach out to as many more children as we can, as quickly as we can. We just have to do that in a way that is allowed by funding levels, so that we can make sure that we can sustain the meals once we enter a new place. So Violet, I don't have a particular 20th country tonight to share with you that Mary's Meals will enter. As soon as we have any detail along those lines, you'll be the first to know, along with any other Mary's Meals supporters who are on our mailing list. But hopefully that's giving you an insight into how we select our programmatic countries. So that's the first question answered. Please do, as I say, ask any questions on the live YouTube chat. I've already had a couple through from my wonderful colleague, Alison. So we'll answer them as we go through. So now I'm just going to be joined by my colleague, Gillian Mcmahon, who's our Director of Supporter Engagement and Income. Let's see if we can get Gillian on. Hello, Gillian.
Hi, Daniel.
Welcome to Family Hour Live. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Let's just be honest with everybody that there is a small chance that children may rush in while we're talking, because that's become quite a significant part of our daily lives as we've been working at home. We're getting used to that. So first of all, could you maybe just tell us, Gillian, how are you coping in these strange days of lockdown with your young family?
Yeah, well, it's definitely different. My husband's a firefighter, so he's out at work, and I've got 2 primary school age children and a wee one who's 3. So there's a bit of juggling going on, but everyone's in the same sort of circumstances, and all of our staff as well, and they've all coped amazingly with the change. And it's always hard to leave the children, so it's quite nice to be around for them a bit more.
Absolutely.
And get a few more hugs.
Yeah, definitely. No, there's massive upsides. I feel the same with my wee toddler Isaac, that you get a wee hug in between work calls, which is great. Could you maybe, Gillian, just tell us, for those who are watching, just a wee bit about your history with Mary's Meals? How many years have you been serving this mission, and what have your different responsibilities been during that time?
Yeah, so I've been with Mary's Meals for just over 10 years. And I've mainly worked on our programs throughout that time. Also doing a bit of work on research into the impact of our programs, and on our policy, and on our major donor funding. And I moved into the role of supporter engagement with Mary's Meals UK last year. So it means I've been able to visit a lot of the countries where we work and really see the transformative impact our programs can have. And I love meeting the children that we support in our programs, but I also love being able to meet the volunteers who make it all possible. And it's been great now being able to move over to supporter engagement in the UK and just meet equally amazing, dedicated and inspiring volunteers that we have here as well.
Absolutely. To see those 2 amazing wings of the Mary's Meals family must be brilliant. With all that rich experience that you've got working on the programmatic side with our program staff and volunteers, what could maybe be called the sharp end of what Mary's Meals does, you'll be able to tell us, I'm sure, about how deeply concerning it was when schools started to close around the world because of this pandemic situation.
Yes, absolutely. Having worked on the programs for so long, it's been great to have seen progress, to see more and more children going to school, to see improvements in the amount of girls going to school and kind of balancing of that. And to see children going to school for longer and staying in school, and then going on to access education, secondary school, further education, and even jobs. You know, there's still a huge need, but that was exciting to begin to see that progress. So obviously, when all of the schools closed across all of our programs, which is something that's never happened before, we were really concerned about the impact that that would have for children, the children that we support and their families. And the UN published a report in April, also really highlighting the concern about a whole generation of children not being in school, not only for their education, but missing out on school meals, and the effect that that would have for hunger levels and their general health, obviously at a time of a heightened health risk, and ultimately the impact that might have for global development.
Yeah. Yeah, so the good news, I suppose, is that we've managed to adapt our programs. I was mentioning at the top of our family hour that it's quite astonishing, actually, that we've managed to do that, to adapt. Can you talk us through what the temporary adaptations to our programs have actually been, and exactly how are our meals reaching vulnerable children at this time?
Yeah, so across almost every school we work in around the world, children are now receiving food to be prepared and eaten at home. So in Malawi and Zambia, that's porridge, it's lukunipala that they normally have, the same as Zimbabwe. In India, for example, it's wheat flour that can be turned into roti. And in Thailand, it's dried fish and dried rice. And there's been a huge amount of work to work out how to do that. So we've had to completely change our approach in terms of our hygiene and safety measures, and put in additional measures around that. So we've had to work really closely with governments in different contexts who all have, you know, different approaches, so that we've got staggered collections at generally the school, and then social distancing at collections, as well as social distancing for all of our staff who've essentially become key workers at this time. And we also normally provide soap to each school for hand washing during the food preparation and after we're eating. But we've had to buy a lot more soap, so that now we're providing soap to every household, just so we can have that extra hygiene measure in place at this time.
Yeah. And we touched on the fact that you're a mum to a young family earlier. I'm presuming that a room in your house has become a temporary classroom. Is that what we expect to gradually be happening in our programme countries as well, that children's homes where we are still managing to make sure they're able to receive one good meal a day, that they're fast becoming places of learning as well?
Yeah, so we, whenever we talk about our programs, we talk about it as being a place and a meal and a place of education. So ideally that's a school, but we also provide meals in residential homes, in informal education centres, and even in prisons. So it's not ideal that this is a setup just now, but essentially what we're thinking of it is the house has become a place of education for these children. And it's great that we're able to provide some hope to families in this way. I worked on our response to the Ebola outbreak in Liberia in 2014 and 2015. And it was a very similar adaptation to the programme that we carried out then. And what we found was that families really told us how much it brought a sense of normality to children who were worried about hunger, but just anxious about the whole situation, that they were able to have that bit of comfort of having their meal at home. And it also provided comfort, obviously, to their families and helped them when they were learning at home. And the great thing about it as well was that, you know, in a context where access to education is not always high, when the programme went back to normal and the meal went back to the school, it encouraged children to themselves also go back to school and get them back in, which was obviously a concern that you know, we would lose that kind of high enrolment rate. So it really helps in that extra way as well.
Sure. It's really good to be reminded of that experience Mary's Meals has of helping children back into the classroom after the incredible social trauma upheaval with the Ebola crisis. And so that experience will stand us in good stead, I'm sure, at this point in time. I know it's maybe unfair and difficult to ask you to make any predictions right now, but have you got any sense of when schools in our programs countries may start reopening? And in general, what are your expectations and hopes for the near future?
Yeah, so It is different in every country where we work. You know, it's different in different parts of the UK. It looks like some of the schools in the countries where we work will start to go back in July, but others have said it could be much later, could be September, October. So our commitment is to try to continue to support all of the children that we support, and more if possible in school or learning at home. And we'll hopefully continue to do that. And in terms of the bigger picture, you know, it's all quite uncertain, but we all know that, you know, there's signs of, you know, problems for the global economy. And when that happens, the livelihoods of the most vulnerable are the most affected. So we're really concerned about that, and we're really concerned about the estimated huge increases in global hunger. So we will continue to monitor that.
Yeah, the need for Mary's Meals is greater than ever. And is there any message, just finally, Gillian, that you would like to give to the people who are watching? Alison's just let me know that we've got people joining from Armagh, Oban, London, Coventry, Dundee, South Africa, Canada. Dundee deserves a second mention because that's my hometown. But the EU and probably other places as well, that's just a snapshot. Have you got a message for them?
Yeah, just thank you so much for continuing to think of the children that we support, and, you know, especially at a time which is hard for you as well. We really appreciate it, and, you know, it's allowing us to provide a real safety net to highly vulnerable children and their families. So thank you so much for allowing us to keep our promise.
Thank you, Gillian, and well done on having a Mary's Meals blue branded wall in your house. That's an extra touch.
One's bedroom.
Great. I'll catch up with you later. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Gillian there. You know, if you told me 9 or 10 weeks ago that in that same period we would have been able to completely reinvent the way in which Mary's Meals are served, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So it really is an amazing joy to be able to communicate that news to everybody today, that very close to 1.6 million children are still being able to receive one good meal every day for this period in their own homes until schools reopen again. So just wonderful. And I said, you know, earlier that it's almost miraculous that that's happened. And while I do suspect that the divine hand was at work somewhere in this, and the people who pray for the work of Mary's Meals, your prayers will certainly have helped. But there's also no denying, I don't think, that this has only been possible because of the extraordinary commitment, passion, hard work and resolve of Mary's Meals staff members and volunteers who work in our programmes countries. And I'm really pleased to say that up next, we're going to hear directly from one of our programme countries. We've got a pre-recorded message from Amina Swedi, who's our country director of Mary's Meals in Kenya. Amina joins us from the town of Lodwar in the county of Turkana, which is in northwestern Kenya. And Turkana, which is a place that I've had the privilege of visiting myself, is a very dry, very arid environment. It's a semi-arid environment. It's got a very unforgiving climate, and it's affected hugely by the challenge of climate change. And the level also of food security for its people there in Turkana, it's in a permanent state of crisis. Food insecurity is also always at crisis levels. And so within that context, ensuring children continue to be fed there while schools are closed has been absolutely critical. So over to my wonderful colleague, Amina, to tell you more about Kenya.
My name is Amina Swedi, and I'm the country director for Mary's Meals Kenya. Mary's Meals has been in operation in Kenya since 2009. This is after 2007 post-election violence. Since then, we are supporting about 71,000 children in partnership with the Diocese of Lodwar. We are currently in 4 counties. This includes Uasin Gishu County. This is one of the counties that was affected by post-election violence, leaving many families internally displaced, susceptible to hunger and high literacy rate. We also have Kisii and Nyamira counties. These counties are known to have high level of tribal warfare, and therefore they have many families being internally displaced and also susceptible to hunger. We also have Turkana County. At the moment, Turkana is ranked as one of the poorest counties in Kenya, having approximately 88% of people living below the poverty line, and also it has high level of illiteracy rate. Turkana also is known to be very, very dry. It only receives rains two times or maybe thrice a year, and therefore things like farming is not a source of livelihood in Turkana County. When I think about COVID-19, really, COVID-19 has really affected Kenya negatively. We have recorded major challenges. Recently, we have in an indefinite school closure, and we know that in these counties that you're currently working in, families that bring their children, they really bring these children to be able to receive one meal a day at this place of education, meaning with the indefinite closure, this was going to pose a major challenge to these families. We also have had many families losing their jobs. At the moment, many companies are firing because there's no income coming in. The economy has just taken a downhill. One thing I can say is this pandemic has really affected Kenya so much. Mary's Mills Kenya has been affected, greatly because with the indefinite closure of school, it means that our operations, were not going to take place. But I'm just glad that in the midst of this pandemic, Mary's Mills has found another way of keeping its promise to children. And at the moment, we are reaching out to these children at household levels. And we are doing this in partnership with the government, partnership with the communities, partnership with relevant ministries that are going to ensure that we are doing this seamlessly while adhering to Ministry of Health and WHO guidelines. We've experienced a few challenges here and there during this distribution time. One of them is insecurities that have occurred in some of the areas that we are currently operating. I am so grateful that the communities have really been helpful. The village elders, the chiefs have been really helpful to ensure that even during those insecurities, kids still get food. We've also had, erratic weather, major rains that have resulted to flooding, which have, almost stopped our operations. But we're really grateful for the communities who have really been helpful in coming up with solutions to be able to help us continue to distribute this food to children. I think it's safe for me to say that it's during this COVID-19 pandemic, we've recorded major impact. Mary's Mills has made difference in lives of people, especially these communities who have had lost hope. And these are testimonies that we receive from the communities directly. We've gotten letters of appreciation from our stakeholders, from our communities, just telling us thank you. I think I'll just end by saying, continue supporting us, and let us just continue to keep our promise to children.
Hello again. I've just been, while Amina was talking there and giving you such an informative update, I was having a quick look at the YouTube chat and seeing everybody saying hello from their various locations. So thank you so much for that. Welcome again to Mary's Meals first Family Hour Live. There's more to come. Thank you so much again to Amina for taking the time to record that message for us when she and her team are undoubtedly under so much pressure and are as busy as they ever could be. And I think Amina's words there really just draw attention to how much Mary's Meals is about working in partnership, working in collaboration. Amina mentioned the fact that we're working together with the government to ensure our food distributions are fully in keeping with their health guidelines and social distancing measures at this time. And she also mentioned the role of the local communities in the distribution of meals to homes at this time as well. And it's just something that's always worth underlining that Mary's Meals is owned and run by local communities. They're not passive receivers of support from me or from you. The communities in which we work own this. They're the heart of what Mary's Meals really is. And they're the ones who are really making it possible day to day though we are able to make sure that the meals are provided, that they're volunteering their time every day, getting up early, collecting firewood, walking many miles, collecting water, lighting fires, cooking the food to feed their own children. And it's not just in the programmes countries where local communities really own Mary's Meals. Here in the UK and in other countries in which we fundraise, Mary's Meals also belongs to those in so many different communities, different places, all those different places we see on the YouTube live chat tonight, who are raising awareness and funds at the most local level possible. And it's really those people in local communities worldwide who are the prime movers in this mission of ours. So just now to hear more about the fundraising and awareness raising side of our mission, I'm really pleased, and those of you in the live chat who are from London, give it up for Catherine Barr, who's our supporter engagement assistant in our London office. Hello, Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Oh, perfect. And I was just saying there that you are supporter engagement assistant in our London office, but I think you're back home in Suffolk during the lockdown. How have things been going for you during these very unusual days?
Yeah, so I'm back with the parents, which is always lovely. But I'm really fortunate. So I'm right next to the beach. I can take lovely walks. So no, I can't complain at all.
Very good, very good. And can you maybe just tell those who are watching a little bit about what your role is with Mary's Meals, and maybe also just a wee bit about our London office, because perhaps people watching might not actually be aware that we've got a London office. And I'm also mindful of the fact that the term London office could conjure up images of quite a fancy floor in a skyscraper building or something. And in actual fact, of course, our presence in London, I hope, like Mary's Meals in general all over the world, is very humble, very practical, very cost efficient and mission focused. So just a wee bit about your role and about the London setup, Catherine, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm the supporter engagement assistant for the London and South East of England team. I actually remembered, I think next week is my 1 year anniversary at Mary's Meals. Yeah,
fantastic.
That's gone so quickly. I can't believe it's nearly a year already. But in the London team, I'm joined by Jared and Christina. So although we are a small team, we cover a very large area, and that's exactly where our volunteers are just crucial, because we could never do it without them. We have volunteers that come into the office and help us with tasks, and volunteers all over our region, and they really help us reach all the different areas that we could never reach just on our own. So they're so crucial. But no, our office is definitely not one of those shiny skyscraper buildings, but it is lovely, I will say. So it's based in Holland Park, and there's the St. Francis of Assisi Church, and the building right next to it is owned by the church, and they generously donate a small office space in there for us. So we just have one small room where we all work, but no, it's a lovely area.
Excellent. And shout out to Father Gerard, who's the priest there that makes that office happen for Mary's Meals. It must be a real privilege, Catherine, for you to be able to work every day in a role which is so close to our grassroots supporters, those people who are giving up their time, money, skills, and their prayer so willingly to help us reach the next child who's waiting for Mary's Meals. And you clearly do a brilliant job of supporting them and assisting them with their fundraising. I can't believe it's been a year already that you've been doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm now just going to give you the floor, Catherine, to tell us some more amazing supporter stories that you've got for us.
Thank you. Okay, so firstly, just a massive thank you from everyone in the supporter engagement team. You do a fantastic job, and we're so grateful. So I do have a few stories that I would like to share from our supporters, just to demonstrate some of the amazing things that our community volunteers can be doing to raise awareness of Mary's Meals, even though some of the events such as coffee mornings or even the London Marathon have been put on hold. The efforts just have not stopped. So I think you can see on the screen already. The first story is from two brothers, Finn and Cam. So they are aged 11 and 10, and they're from Thetford, and they had originally planned to complete a 15-mile bike ride but due to the pandemic, they couldn't complete this. So their mother, Gemma, suggested they take on a new fundraising task, and that was to shave their heads. So as you can see in the photo, they did a brilliant job, and they raised £350 for Mary's Meals. So it's just a brilliant effort from them. The next one we have is from our community volunteer, Beverly. You can also see her there on the screen on the left. So she's from Dunoon, and she's definitely been going the extra mile for Mary's Meals during lockdown. She's been walking an average of 3.6 miles every day, but for 100 days. So a total of 360 miles, which is just incredible, and is actually the same distance between the Mary's Meals charity shops in Scotland and the head office in Dalmally. So good luck, Beverly, with the rest of your walking. Keep going, and we're all cheering you on remotely. And the next one we have is Alison, Paige, and her dog Corrie. So you can also see them there. So Alison has been making the most of lockdown by writing children's books in memory of her dog Corrie. So she's previously published 2 books, and all the profits were donated to Mary's Meals. So far, from the book sales, she's raised £6,000, and now Alison has started her 3rd book. So we can't wait to see the final product and read all about the adventures of Corrie. And then lastly, we have Pippa and Michael Logan. So you can see Michael there. They are from Seaford, and they raise funds for Mary's Meals by supplying local residents with garden plants. So Michael's always been a passionate gardener, and he normally supports us with the annual garden party and their plant stall. But they've now been trying to adjust this with social distancing. So what they've been doing is they've been taking orders for plants by email, and then they've been storing them in the garage, and people can come and collect them that way. So they haven't even stopped during social distancing. So these are just a few stories that we wanted to share with you that we've come across. And there are so many more, and we wish we could tell you all of them, but we really would be here all night. So I won't go on too much, but we do love to hear all about it. So keep in contact, keep sending them through. And if you are interested in volunteering, there's information on the website, and there's an inquiry form, and you can join the Mary's Meals family.
Thanks so much, Catherine. That was great. I love those supporter stories. I was thinking that we might need to get in touch with Pippa and Michael to see if we can kit out the Glasgow office, because these are the only surviving plants from the lockdown. The other ones, there's a wee bit of a plant graveyard upstairs, unfortunately.
Yeah. I can't imagine the Glasgow team will be happy about that.
Oh, exactly. I hope I'm not going to get the blame. I also love Finn and Cam's amazing effort to shave their heads, but I would like to point out that not everybody gets the choice about whether they're bald or not. So they should enjoy when their hair grows back in. So just a quick few final questions for you, Catherine. The first one was just if you could tell us just a little bit more about what a community volunteer does for Mary's Meals in the UK. And maybe just how people can sign up to that. And also about volunteer groups. It would be great to hear a bit more about those.
Yeah, so our community volunteers usually help us with raising awareness, fundraising, and really just helping to support our movement. And it's such a great role because you can really shape it to what's best for you. We have so many volunteers that help us in so many different ways. We've really found, especially I have noticed in London, that there are never two cases which are the same. Everyone is completely different, whether they're happy to stand up in front of lots of people and talk, or they're just really organised and they can do events, or the backpack project. So I think that really is something special about it, that you can shape it to what's best for you. And it really allows you to take such ownership of the role as well, and independence, and people to just work on their own and create their own events or whatever it may be for them. But yeah, as I said, there's information about the roles on the website, and there's an inquiry form so you can get in contact. And on the groups, I think they work really well because it really brings a community together. So they're usually people that live in a similar area, and it just brings that community support together. They can share ideas, there's people to help you. I mean, organising an event on your own is never going to be easy. So having people help, even with small things like that, and has a social side as well. So I think it's a wonderful thing. One of our groups at the moment that's doing an amazing job is the West London group. So they set up a fundraising page on the Mary's Meals website. And the initiative was to, while lockdown was happening, people that weren't going out, they weren't spending money on coffee or dinner or the cinema or something, then they could donate the money to Mary's Meals. And Christina actually told me today they've raised over £900 just sharing it with friends and family. So yeah, the dedication and creativity has just been incredible.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to them. Just one final thing, if you don't mind. So I imagine that at this time you're probably keeping in touch with volunteers a bit more through things like this, video conferencing. One particular important group of supporters for Mary's Meals, of course, comes from churches and faith groups. And obviously churches have had to move their masses, their services online during this time. And, you know, Mary's Meals ordinarily would be visiting lots of churches to update them on our work at this time. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not able to happen. What is it that might be available to churches at this time from Mary's Meals? Could you tell us a wee bit about some resources we've been producing for them?
Yeah. So like you said, churches are so crucial, especially in London. I know we have such a massive support there, and it's so unfortunate that we can't visit them at the moment. But there were 2 videos that were created, which would hopefully replace the physical visits for now. So the first one we have is a special message from our founder, Magnus. And then the second one, which has just recently been recorded, has 2 messages from 2 Mary's Meals leaders. So one from our India program and one from our Kenyan program. So they are on the YouTube page, which is on the same page that this is being recorded now. So people can take a look afterwards.
Nice
yeah. But I definitely recommend looking at them because they are lovely.
Fantastic. And churches are just part of the lifeblood that supports Mary's Meals. Possible for us to feed children. So if they're able to include those videos in their services or at the end of Mass or do a holy hour for Mary's Meals, that would be so good. Thank you so much, Catherine. I'll let you get back to your Thursday evening and we'll catch up later.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. So great to hear all those inspiring stories. It really is just working at Mary's Meals, just this constant flow of stories of people doing amazing things. And it's brilliant to see how it's not been slowed down any by this pandemic situation. Quick shout out to Alison, Paige of Corrie fame, because I think Alison is tuning in and heard Catherine talking about her there. Just to take another question or another couple of questions. One that we've had is from Jacqueline, a supporter of ours in East Sussex, and she asked us, well, she said, I have people wishing to donate backpacks. Do you still want them? And are there any precautions we need to take at this time? So the answer to that is yes, we do still want them. Unfortunately, our backpack warehouse and our backpack collection process is paused right now, as so many things are because of this pandemic, and our warehouse is closed. So please do hold on to the backpacks for now. We would really love if people are able to continue in their homes, if they've got old backpacks lying around and they're able to piece together some educational items to put in a backpack. Especially maybe with their children who want to have something to do while they're at home. We really encourage you to do that, but to maybe just hold on to the backpacks until we're able to begin receiving them again. And when we are able to begin receiving them again, I'm sure there's some government guidelines we're going to have to follow for safety reasons and to take the necessary precautions. I'm not sure exactly what they are yet, but as soon as we know, we'll let you know. And linked to that, somebody else asked, can we still donate clothes in Mary's Meals shops? Those are the 7 charity shops that we operate in Scotland. And a bit like the backpacks and our warehouse, all of the shops are currently closed. We're hopeful to get them open as soon as it's safe to do so. So for now, please hold on to any clothing that you want to donate. And as soon as our shops open, we'll let you know. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some safety precautions that will be introduced there. And also please just pray that we're able to open our shops as soon as we possibly can, because they really are a huge impact on our income and our ability to feed more children when we're not able to raise funds through them. Let me just see if there are any other questions. So Geraldine has asked, how many UK offices are there? So there are 3 main UK offices. We have this one in Glasgow, where the biggest part of our UK team are based. We then have a team in Dalmally, the home of Mary's Meals, where Magnus works, and where the shed is, where our work all began. And then we have our London office that Catherine spoke about. We've then got some people working remotely, mostly from home. There is some kind of office space that we try to share in some of these places, but in Leeds, in Liverpool, and in Northern Ireland as well. And just as much as we can, we want to try and grow that spread just to support the continued growth of the Mary's Meals movement. But I just want to reiterate that all of that is always done in line with Mary's Meals' commitment to spend 93 pence of every £1 you donate on our charitable activities. So making sure we stay low cost at the same time. So I'm going to move on to the next thing, and we'll hopefully just answer another couple of questions. So throw in your last questions before the end of our hour. And I'll try to answer them just after this final piece of content we've got to share with you. One question we got asked earlier actually was from Brian, who said, is Jerry Butler on? I presume that means is Jerry Butler on yet? I'm certain that Brian wasn't looking at the screen and thinking I was Jerry Butler. That's very unlikely. So Jerry Butler is about to be on, Brian, because we're, as I said at the beginning, we're going to share the trailer for the new Mary's Meals 30-minute documentary film, which is starring Gerard Butler. And just a little bit of background on Gerard Butler's involvement with Mary's Meals. He first got introduced to Magnus, our founder, back in 2010, when Magnus was being honoured with a CNN Hero Award in a ceremony in Los Angeles. And Gerard had been chosen by CNN to give the award to Magnus. And from then, Magnus and Jerry became very good friends. One other lovely bit of the story is that while Gerard Butler wasn't a supporter of Mary's Meals really until he met Magnus in 2010. His mum always had been, and had kind of been chewing Gerard's ear off for some years to get involved. So it was great when Magnus and Jerry were finally able to meet. After that event that they met at, Jerry wanted to visit a Mary's Meals country to see things for himself up close, and he went to visit a few years later Liberia. And more recently, he has once again gone to one of our program's countries, and that's to Haiti. And between those 2 trips, we've now been able to put together this wonderful, beautiful, joyful 30-minute documentary film. And its name is Love Reaches Everywhere. And that name, Love Reaches Everywhere, has actually been inspired by grassroots supporters of ours in Iowa, in the USA, who made T-shirts for Mary's Meals that said Love Reaches Everywhere on them. And I think that phrase just describes Mary's Meals so well, particularly I think at this time of COVID-19 and all the things we've been able to do sort of against the odds recently to make sure kids continue to get fed. This amazing work of love of Mary's Meals really is reaching every part of the planet, and sometimes into the world's most vulnerable communities. So it feels really like a very fitting name for this joyful film about our work. And, you know, if it's anything like Child 31 and Generation Hope, our 2 other films that we've had out before, this film will be a big moment for Mary's Meals to bring new people to our mission, to touch many new hearts. So when it does get released, I hope you'll be able to share it with many of your friends and family to try to get them to get involved in Mary's Meals as well. I'm going to tell you after the trailer how you can see the full film, but before that, let's take it away with the trailer for Love Reaches Everywhere.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Sometimes people have a question when they give us funding. Does it really reach the child? You know, why are you all laughing? We want to make sure we're seeking out children that might be in places that seem impossible.
Demonstrations, riots, Mary's Meals bypasses all of that.
You sure we have to do this? A bit of a hill. So this is Whistler. His mother said, if you're coming to school, you got to bring your sister, because
because they have to go and work in the fields. So this kid carries his 1-year-old sister everywhere.
You know, I thought going up that mountain, Mary's Meals can reach everywhere that there's a hungry child.
They are magnificent and give you so much more than you give them. A lot of those kids don't eat in the morning. A lot of those kids don't eat at night.
Yes, she said, I have been praying and bim, Mary Meals is coming.
Do you see what happens after a simple meal? It just came to life.
Love reaches everywhere.
I hope you enjoyed that very, very short sneak preview of Love Reaches Everywhere, our new documentary film. Having seen that sneak preview, let me tell you now about how you're going to be able to see the full film. Actually, 2 weeks from today, Thursday the 18th of June, is when we are launching Love Reaches Everywhere online for free, freely available for anybody around the world to see. So the best way to make sure that you're the first to get a link to that film and to see Love Reaches Everywhere, the best thing is to sign up to the Mary's Meals mailing list if you haven't already done that. You can do it at our website, www.marysmeals.org.uk. And if you scroll to the bottom, you can subscribe to updates. Also, please, just ahead of that film being launched, tell your friends too to sign up to our mailing list. That means that we'll be able to communicate with them in the long term about Mary's Meals, but also just let them know about this particularly exciting moment of the film being released. And maybe especially Gerard Butler fans, you could let know this is happening because I understand Gerard has quite the following. So let's just see what final questions we've got. So one question, I'm afraid I don't have the name here, but it is the live family hour, I think, going to be a regular thing for Mary's Meals? This is the first ever Mary's Meals Family Hour Live. It could be the last ever one if people are not that interested in it. But if you've really enjoyed it, if you want to be updated in this way, please do let us know that you enjoyed it and would welcome more of these events. Certainly from our point of view, this is a really cost-effective way to hopefully keep people updated, in addition to the other things that Mary's Meals does with our emails and our letters and our social media, etc. So, let us know. You can email us at info@marysmeals.org. You can call us on 0800 698 1212, or please just leave a comment saying that you enjoyed it and you would like for this to be done again on YouTube before you log off. That would be fantastic. And I think we've got another question on YouTube from, again, I'm not sure of the name, but asking why is Magnus not taking part today? No particular reason. Magnus takes part in so many different things to raise awareness of Mary's Meals, and really we've just given him a wee break tonight. But Magnus may well take part in the next Family Hour Live if people would like the Family Hour to go into a second installment, maybe particularly through this pandemic. So I know people love hearing from Magnus directly, and I'm sure he'll want to be able to join us at a future one of these events. And James has asked, how many countries is Mary's Meals now feeding in? So that magic number is 19 countries and 1.6 million hungry children receiving daily meals from Mary's Meals. I think that is all of the questions that have come through. So we are very close to the hour. So I'm quite pleased. It looks like we're going to come in on time, which is unusual when I'm the one doing most of the talking. I'm just looking to make sure that I'm not missing any questions that might be coming over. Oh, there's one just from John who asks, any innovative new fundraising ideas given the current circumstances? So I think Catherine shared a few of the things different people were doing to change their fundraising habits. Maybe we'll be in touch with you, John, just to share some other things if you're interested. And I don't know if there's anybody on the live chat, because I saw some of our amazing supporters there, people like Sue Nightingale in Birmingham, who is always just fantastically creative and innovative. I don't know what Sue's doing at this moment in time. She may well want to share some ideas on the YouTube chat, and others might as well. So I think that's probably it. So all that's left for me to say is to really just thank you so much for joining us for this first ever Mary's Meals Family Hour Live. Thank you to Gillian, to Catherine, to Amina, and also to Alison, who is the unsung hero who's not appeared on screen, who's made sure that the technical elements for tonight have gone so well. And it seems, from my vantage point, that it has gone well technically. So thank you so much to Alison. She's kept us all in check to make sure this thing goes off relatively without a hitch. And finally, just please know that all of us who are entrusted with stewarding the mission of Mary's Meals never take your support for our work for granted. Thank you for all you're doing to help us reach more little ones. It's an act of justice, not just of simply charity, to feed the hungry child. So keep well. May God bless you and your loved ones, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.